Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you are tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, along with my main man. That would be JC John Coleman. So, Coleman, here we are, week 6 of the Rona shutdown. Ish, depending on what part of the country or the world you're tuned in listening from. But yeah, it's been here in Florida about 6 weeks. Our governor is going to notify us by the end of the week whether or not we can start gradually reintroducing ourselves to society or whether or not we need to stay home. Obviously, you and I don't do the best of jobs because we do come in here at least once, if not twice a week. But we do a good job of making sure that we're isolated from everyone else and we're staying 5 or 6 feet away from each other. All right. So all good. I was trying to think of a topic for today, right? Because our whole schedule has kind of been flipped upside down. Special guests can't travel in or they're wanting to stay home, which we totally understand. And driving in, I was just thinking we should just do a whole entire episode on like what not to do to suck, right? Okay. Like how not to suck at business. Okay. Because I think ultimately it's pretty easy. And I was having this conversation with a good buddy of mine, JJ, who was venting industry that he is in. He's having a hard time with suppliers. He's having a hard time with contractors and vendors. And for the most part, it's things that people can control, like being on time, like doing what they say they're going to do in the time frame that they're going to do it, and communicating effectively. And he's like frustrated, like beyond belief. And I was just explaining to him, well, the good news is it's because of situations like that or experiences like that he's in the position he is in from a career standpoint, because he has found out he's discovered how to master certain aspects of business that has allowed him to achieve elite status. And now he is recognizing why others haven't had a chance to achieve that same elite status. Okay. All right. So I'm thinking like top 10, hopefully top 10. Okay. None of this is slated. None of this is scripted, but I have a general idea of where I want to go with it. Okay. So first and foremost, top 10 things not to do to suck in business, right? Don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole, number 1.
Number 1, can you do that?
I can sometimes do that.
Sometimes, okay. Thanks for being honest. But for the most part, can you not be an asshole? Can you just treat others the way they want to be treated?
Absolutely.
Now, if you notice, I said treat others the way that they want to be treated.
I did. I thought that you messed up.
No, I did not mess up. No. That right there, that's the platinum rule. Most of us learned the golden rule. Treat others the way that we want to be treated. The platinum rule is treat others the way that they want to be treated. And the way that you find out how they want to be treated is you do start with the golden rule, but then you take it one step further and you ask that person how they like to be treated, right? Or maybe you do a little bit of research on them to get an idea of who they are, where they come from, their background. Can you think of 2 easy places to go for in today's day and age to get research or the scoop on a prospective client or someone that you're doing business with?
Not the yellow pages.
Nope.
I'm going to think Facebook.
Yep, the Book of Faces, also known as Facebook, brought to you by the one and only Mark Zuckerberg et al.
And I'm just going to throw it out there, maybe a LinkedIn profile.
And LinkedIn, yep. So there you go. Don't be an asshole, right? Treat others the way that they want to be treated. Find out how they want to be treated by either asking them or doing some background research, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. All right. The next 2, pick up your phone. Period. End of story. Pick it up. It rings, you pick it up. It rings, you pick it up. Now, if it rings right now, I don't pick it up because I am engaged with you creating this podcast. But any other task I may be doing, especially if it's paperwork, I'm going to pick up my phone, especially because I'm in sales. And I'm talking more to sales professionals. If you can't pick up your phone, incessantly get back to people. And do you know what I mean by incessantly?
Non-stop, constantly.
Like you have 1 hour in my book of business if John Coleman calls Dustin Owen, especially during the work week and during normal business hours, and I can't get to my phone, I have 1 hour to pick up the phone to reply to him. Now, that may very well be, hey, John, I appreciate you giving me a call. Hey, I am booked solid, but when's a better time for me to call you back? 4:30 or 5:30, right? Give you 2 times, but I need to call you back. I can't be like, oh, I'm so busy, and 4 or 5 hours pass, right? So pick up the phone when it rings and return phone calls incessantly.
Okay, that's simple enough.
All right, so we're at 3.
Yep.
I promised you 10. All right. Be worldly.
Worldly.
Be worldly. Yeah.
What the hell does that mean?
Know what the hell's going on. Be worldly. And being worldly could be things like understanding pop culture, knowing what's going on in sports. And how do you do that? Well, you do it A, by being social, but B, like tune into podcasts like this one. But other podcasts that I like to listen to, Freakonomics is a good one. Joe Rogan's podcast is a good one because Freakonomics will give you more worldly events. Rogan's more pop culture, but he'll introduce you to characters that you otherwise wouldn't have been introduced to, right? On my end, I was introduced to Bernie Sanders through Joe Rogan, and I was introduced to Dan Crenshaw by Joe Rogan. So Dan Crenshaw's a congressman out of Texas. I believe it's the 2nd district in Texas, ex-Navy SEAL, war hero. And then obviously I think everyone in the world knows of Bernie Sanders. And although I knew of Bernie Sanders, I'd never listened to Bernie Sanders speak, especially not at an hour to 2 hour clip. So be worldly, know what's going on, right? If you're not into sports, it doesn't mean that you don't tune out what's going on in the sports world, because you need and want topics of conversation. You want to find an ability to connect with somebody. Well, the more in tune you are to your surroundings, the more worldly you are, the easier it is that you can connect, the easier you can enchant people. Enchantment is a book I'm reading right now. Okay, and Enchantment is a book I'm reading right now, which brings me to number 4, right? 5?
5, yeah, because 3 was those things, worldly, 4, 5 now.
Okay, brings me to number 5. Become a student. Become a student. Never stop learning. So this is the Loan Officer Podcast. A lot of our listeners are loan officers. So when you're a loan officer, you're doing more than just helping someone apply for and become approved for a home loan. You're also being an advisor and a consultant. You're giving them advice. But if you don't understand personal finance and budgeting on the most basic of levels, you can't really do your job at the highest level, right? If I'm running a business and I'm not reading books on leadership, if I'm not reading books that pertain to my industry, then am I really going to be successful? Or I should say, are my odds of success going to be greater or less than the person who is a student? So be a student. Be a student to what you do. That was number 5.
Correct. Now number 6.
Now number 6. On the same lines of be a student, watch some TV shows,
Okay.
right? Take pleasure and combine it with career. So pleasure for me and many other people is watching television. If you're a younger generation, it's probably watching YouTube. By the way, if you're listening to this podcast, you can check us out on YouTube. We are on both formats. But I like to watch TV. It's how I unwind. By about 8:30, 9 o'clock, the kids finally go upstairs. The homework is done. Dinner is done. Dishes are clean. I get to take a deep breath because I've been on the go since about 6 or 6:30 in the morning. And I kind of want to veg out. Well, here's 2 TV shows. If you're running a business that you should be watching, and they're not new, by the way. They're not new. So there are episodes upon episodes, and they're on demand, and they may even be on their 2nd or their 3rd cable channel, because you know certain cable shows do that, right? Shark Tank and The Profit. The Profit with Marcus Lemonis, and Shark Tank with Mark Cuban and yep. Barbara Corcoran, I think is one of them. Yes, watch those 2 shows because they will open your eyes to various business ideas that in concepts that either you practice, so you actually get to hear it and follow along, or they introduce them to you because maybe you're more of a novice in you running your business, but these are now all thoughts and concepts that you can go ahead and absorb as your own. What number is that?
That was 6. Now we're on to 7.
Now we're on to 7. And this topic, to remind me and to remind you, is 10 things that you can do to not suck at business.
Correct.
Okay. Quit trying to be the frickin' Wizard of Oz.
Stop trying to be the man behind the curtain.
Correct. Stop trying to be the man behind the curtain. Let other people in, right? So letting other people in is also not hiding from your intentions, right? What is your intention, whether you're a nonprofit or you're a for-profit organization? We all have our ulterior motives, right? Like, we come to work to make money. We come to work so that we can provide a service that people appreciate, that people need. And in return, we make money for both the company as well as ourselves. So don't hide from that, but also don't be afraid to show, as long as it's not like your secret recipe or, exactly how you program that particular app or whatever it is, like the secret sauce that you have. If it's something that's pricing related, don't be afraid to show your consumer, your client, your pricing, right? Don't hide from the fact that, hi, my name is Dustin Owen. I work for Waterstone Mortgage, and I want to tailor-make a mortgage for you, make sure you have the best experience, your offer gets accepted over other offers, and oh, hey, by the way, Waterstone Mortgage and Dustin Owen both look to profit from helping you. Is that okay? Right? Like, think about how you could spin that into any other.
You have to put it in your brand book.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that. So as a loan officer, most of us, like 99% of every loan that's being priced out anymore, is done electronically through what's called a pricing engine. It's done on a computer. Okay, I'm not afraid as a loan officer to show my clients my pricing. Because guess what? As a loan officer, I don't get paid any more or any less, whether their rate is 2% or 3% or 4%. So why shouldn't I show them, hey, this is how I'm coming up with the interest rate quote of 3.5. This is why when I tell you I can take you to 3.25, it's going to cost you an extra $3,000 in closing costs, right? If I'm a manufacturer, can I show them this is my cost? So when I sell it to you for, which is X, when I sell it to you for Y, this is my profit. My profit is what allows me to employ my staff of 12, as well as put food on the family food on, did I say food on the family? Food on the table for my family.
Yeah.
And this is also what's going to allow me to hopefully retire at some point and possibly even help my children pursue a secondary education, like going to college. Right? Like
You get rid of that gray area because the consumer just, if you don't know, their mind can go anywhere. Where's this money going? What's it used for? Am I getting ripped off? Is it good value? And they just, second guess themselves.
100%. That's so that just reminded me, don't let people think for themselves.
Is that the next one?
Let's make it that.
Okay.
Let's make it that. Do not let someone think for themselves, especially when you're the subject matter expert. Do allow them to make choices, right? Every one of our clients should be given a choice, right? Mr. and Mrs. Borrower, would you like a house, or would you like a loan where your closing costs are $5,000 or $8,000? Would you like a loan where your payment is $15 more a month or $15 less a month? Right? You can give options all day long and let them make decisions based on the options that are provided. But the minute you let them start thinking for themselves, you also allow them to start thinking in the wrong direction, thinking negative thoughts, thinking incorrectly, just because they don't know. They're coming to us because we're the subject matter expert. So we need to allow them to do some decision making, but not necessarily the thinking. Where was I going with this? What'd you say to make me go on this tangent?
No, it's just when the consumer doesn't know. Like if the consumer's left in the dark and there's gray areas and they don't know if it's a good value, am I getting ripped off? Where's my money going? Should I go somewhere else?
That was the whole Wizard of Oz. Yep, show them the man behind the curtain. Because the minute you try to almost hide something, you lack and lose trust, or you lose the ability to gain and earn trust. So immediately, as quick as you can and as professional as you can, show your hand. Don't hide from your ulterior motives. And that's where I was going with the don't let them think for themselves, because you have to assume, and you know what happens when you assume? You have to assume that the person is going to be thinking of everything in a negative light, almost in the someone's out to get me, right? Which you're not, right? You're out to make money.
Yeah.
You're out to provide a service.
If someone is upfront with what you're saying right now, and regardless of the price, even it might be a little bit more expensive, I would say I'm at liberty to kind of listen to them more and be more apt to do business with them, regardless of the price, because they were more open from the jump.
Yes, perfect. And I think that's where I was getting with that one. It's number 9.
We're on 9 now. Don't ask me to repeat them back in order, but we're in 9 now.
I had a cheat sheet somewhere. Like I had like a little like 3x3 Post-it note. And I was afraid the Post-it note might have the Rona on it, so I threw it away. Then I went and disinfected my hands really quickly, and now I don't have my cheat sheet.
It happens to the best of us.
Well, I'll tell you this one. It's a personal one.
Okay.
Get the frick off of texting and email.
Get the frick off?
Get the frick off.
Okay.
Get the frick off. Think about this.
Okay.
If I walked past you and all you got was my middle finger and nothing else, what are your initial thoughts?
Something's wrong with you. I should probably keep my head down. A lot of things.
A lot of things.
None of them good.
Yeah. If I walked past you, I smiled and said, "Hey, John, how you doing today?" And I flicked you off like I just did.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you feeling now?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Equally as crazy. But a little less weirded out, but equally as weirded out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me.
For you.
Yeah.
For most people, if I just flicked you off, that is very intimidating, and you're not happy with me.
Yeah.
If I walked past you and flicked you off and I smiled, I'm like, "Hey, John, how you doing today?" You chuckled, by the way, but it's you got to hear my tone,
Yeah.
right? You got to see my facial expression. Okay, when you rely on text messages and emails, assume that everyone's reading this as if you're the biggest dick, you're being an asshole, and they don't like you. Right? So if we're trying to build trust, enchant people, get them to buy into us and our brand, we're trying to be successful business operators. We need to do as much as we can where they can at least get multiple forms of communication, meaning they can hear me, they can feel me, they can see me, but if it's just in text, they only know the words. At least in voice, it's the words, it's the inflections, it's the pauses. They can hear when I laugh. They can hear if my tone. Today's day and age, man, Zoom everybody at this point.
Right.
Just Zoom them.
Yeah.
Then you can really get a sense of how to properly interact.
Enchantment. Where'd you get that?
And it's the book I'm reading.
I know, but
It's
peppered it into it. You really seductive, man. That's good.
yeah, I hate being that guy though. That it's like whatever book you're reading, it's like that's the new thing. And I'll be honest, I don't even know if it's a book that I would recommend.
Really?
It's one of those I needed to read a book because of the whole 75 hard challenge that I told you all about, and I was going through an old bookshelf, and somewhere over the past 5 to 7 years, someone either gave me that book or someone told me to buy it, and I went and bought it but never cracked it.
Yeah.
So I decided, hey, you know what? I'm gonna read Enchantment.
Yeah.
So I'm reading it. So yes, that's where the word came from.
That's seductive. You start using that in your repertoire, you drop that in. Make that. That'll perk some ears, so I digress.
It's not a terrible read. It's a pretty easy read. The concepts are pretty basic, and there haven't been that many aha moments or like takeaway moments. Like when I read Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, that to me was aha moments, writing down notes, highlighting. Like that was a great book. I would recommend that book to anybody. Enchantment,
How big is the font? I go by how big is the font on the page. Small font, you're going to study. Medium font, easy read. Big font, goosebumps.
it's an easy read. The chapters are 15 to 16 pages. It's only like a 190 page book.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy book to get through.
Okay.
It's just not life altering. All right, so we need a 10th.
Okay, drum roll, please.
Drum roll, please.
The number 10 thing you can do to not suck at business is.
I'm gonna go to my cheat sheet.
Okay.
I'm gonna go dig in the trash can. I'm gonna go bring out that Corona-infested Post-it note, and I'm gonna give you number 10.
Oh, look at that. Look, this is all real. Look at this, real time, ladies and gentlemen. This is all real time. No editing tricks here.
There's a Post-it note right there.
Showing the hand.
All right, so let's see here.
Okay.
I've talked about the profit in Shark Tank.
Correct.
I've discussed being worldly.
Correct.
I have given shout outs to Freakonomics
Yep.
podcast, by the way, Joe Rogan podcast.
Yes, ma'am.
I have talked about, my notes say walk through DTI, show OB. Those are industry specific, like for loan officers. When we were talking about the Wizard of Oz and showing behind the curtain, show OB, Optimal Blue is the vendor we use to price out mortgage loans.
That's just like more showing your hands. Being
Yep. Walk through DTI. Like, I'm a big fan. If I'm doing your loan and I know part of your qualifications is your debt to income ratio, I want to show you exactly how we came about that number, right? So I will write down what your monthly debts are. I'll write down the income that the underwriter is going to allow us to use based on what Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac states in their guidelines. And then I'm going to be able to show you on a piece of paper, John, we're going to determine your qualifications based on your debt to income ratio or DTI. So that's where that note came from. We talked about pick up the phone, right? We talked about call back, set proper expectations. No, okay. Well, so here's a couple of notes I had. Set proper expectations. I also have tell stories. I have some bunch of stuff that I can't even read my own handwriting, but it looks like it says network with your peers in the industry. I have attend 2 industry functions annually, like conferences.
Okay.
To me, the attending the conferences is very much be a student to your craft. Right. But also the conferences will allow you to network with other folks who do what you do outside of your organization. Some of the best business we can have referred our way is referred to us by our friends at the competition. So there's nothing wrong with being friendly with the same people that you compete against. In fact, I can tell you 1,000 different ways why there's everything right about knowing who you compete against. Like, actually know them. Not necessarily like the name of the company, but the people who work there. And the people that work there, you want to enchant them. There's that word again for you. But they will become your friends, but they'll also become some of your best sources of information. And you'll get to understand the actual product or service that you compete about on an intimate level if you get to know your peers that work for the competition. For my sales professionals in the financial sales industry, again, loan officers, life insurance salespeople, financial advisors, homeowners insurance salespeople, etc. Part of being a student to the financial industry is understanding basic principles of consumer finance. Dave Ramsey and Clark Howard. Dave Ramsey and Clark Howard are 2 individuals who have their own shows, their own books, their own following, but get to know their teachings, get to know what their students are learning from them so that you too can become a student to the extent that you can point others in their direction or you can regurgitate some of the stuff that you learned to others. Now, I'm never saying to pass it off as your own, but at least know it. Swipe and adapt. You should at least know what's being taught so you can speak about it at a higher level than the client or the person that you're conducting business with. So of those that I just rattled off, setting proper expectations, look, that's pretty self-explanatory, right? Do what you say and do it in under the time limit that you told someone you needed to get it done. That's it. It is that simple. Setting proper expectations is that simple. Overpromise, underdeliver.
All day.
Overpromise, underdeliver, not all day. Underpromise, I tricked you, didn't I? Underpromise and overdeliver,
Yeah.
right? That's it. Underpromise, overdeliver. That's a little bit more than 10.
That was
Ish.
But you went back and, there was 5A, 5B, 5C. So.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, these are 10 principles that you can follow. And if you can master all 10, I promise you, you won't suck at business.
People love not sucking.
And that concludes this episode of the Loan Officer Podcast.
With me, your host, John Coleman.
And me, his sidekick, the DO. Deuces.